So, we talk a lot about the work of healing, right? But what does it actually feel like when it starts to kick in? It's definitely not some magic sunrise or a single aha moment. In this explainer, we're going to walk through what healing honestly looks and feels like stage by stage. That way, you know you're on the right track, even on those days when it feels like you're going completely backward. Okay, let's be real. Have you ever caught yourself thinking this? Shouldn't I be over this by now? It is such a frustrating question, one that so many of us ask ourselves when a bad week hits or an old trigger pops up. It can make you feel like all that progress you made just vanished into thin air. But here's the thing, and it's a huge shift in perspective. Healing isn't about fixing something that's broken. It's not a one and done event. It's an ongoing process of change, a journey that looks totally different from that neat, straight line we've all been taught to expect. And there's actually a name for this: nonlinear healing. It's a really powerful model because it completely throws out the idea of a fixed timeline. Instead, it helps us see that healing moves in cycles, kind of like a spiral. This means that circling back to old wounds isn't a failure. No way. It's actually a sign that your nervous system is finally starting to feel safe enough to process things on a much deeper level. So let's just go ahead and bust that myth of the straight line recovery once and for all. Real healing is messy. It's a mix of good days and really hard days. It means circling back to memories you swore you were done with. And yeah, it often involves a whole lot of grief. But none of these things are signs that you're failing. They're signs that you're human. All right, let's dive into the first stage, and honestly, this is often the most confusing part of the whole journey. It's called the thaw, and it explains that deeply counterintuitive experience of, well, feeling worse right when the real healing is starting to happen. I love this quote because it just hits the nail on the head. We want healing to feel like a relaxing spa day, don't we? But in reality, it's much more like surgery. And what happens after a major procedure? There's tenderness, there's recovery time, there's fatigue. That doesn't mean something went wrong, it just means something significant and necessary just happened. This is where the whole thawing ice metaphor is so perfect. Just picture this for a second. A frozen lake doesn't thaw in silence. It cracks, it groans, the ice breaks apart. It's a noisy, messy process. It's the same with our nervous system. When it's been frozen in a survival state and finally feels safe enough to thaw, all those suppressed, numbed-out emotions start to move again. It can feel really loud and unsettling, but it is a sign of life, a sign of progress. And you've got to understand, this thaw isn't just some emotional idea. It's super physical. Your body might start to release all that stored-up survival energy in some really surprising ways. We're talking spontaneous shaking, sudden hot or cold flashes, or just intense fatigue. These aren't just random symptoms. They're signs of your body's incredible innate intelligence getting to work. So what's actually happening in your body? Let's look at the signs for a sec. That shaking, that's your nervous system literally discharging excess fight or flight energy to reset itself. Those crazy, vivid dreams, that's your brain physically reorganizing neural pathways while you sleep. See? These aren't random at all. They're hard evidence of deep biological healing in action. Okay, so what comes next after that intense thaw? You enter this next phase, the spiral. This is where you might start to feel like you're just going in circles because old feelings keep bubbling up. But the key thing to get here is that you're not repeating the past. You're returning to it with brand new strength. So what is the spiral pattern? Basically, it's this idea that you'll circle back to familiar emotions or themes, but each time you do, you're processing them at a deeper and deeper level. Your brain actually needs to take multiple passes to fully integrate major life experiences. So next time you think, oh, I thought I already dealt with this, chances are you're right in the middle of this very healthy, spiraling process. And, making this distinction is absolutely crucial. Repetition feels like you're stuck in the mud, right? It just leads to shame and self-blame. But a return is different. You're visiting that old territory, sure, but you are not the same person you were before. You're bringing new tools, more awareness, and a way bigger capacity to handle it. And that is what leads to self-compassion instead of self-criticism. And this whole non-linear thing can show up in a few different ways, and they're all totally normal. You might be in the spiral, or maybe you're experiencing the wave, these calm periods that get interrupted by a sudden emotional surge. You could be on the pendulum, swinging back and forth between acceptance and resistance, or you might hit a plateau, which feels like you're stalled out, but it's actually your brain just taking a pause to consolidate all the hard work it's been doing. So here's a new tool for your toolbox. The next time an old, familiar feeling comes back, Instead of judging it, just get curious. Ask yourself, do I notice this feeling sooner than I used to? Do I recover from it more quickly? If the answer to either of those is yes, then you are not repeating, you are returning, and you're returning with more capacity. This is how you measure progress in a nonlinear world.
And this right here is maybe the biggest reframe of the whole process. The return of old pain doesn't mean your healing has failed. In fact, it often means the exact opposite. It means your system, your whole being, finally feels safe enough and strong enough to handle what it couldn't before. It's a sign of profound trust in your current self.
All right, now we need to talk about one of the sneakiest, most confusing stages of them all, the resistance. This is what happens when your nervous system has been wired for survival for so long that a state of calm or peace can actually start to feel, well, dangerous.
This image really gets at the heart of it, doesn't it? When your nervous system has learned that being hypervigilant is what keeps you safe, then a state of rest can feel like a terrifying vulnerability. It's like a guard who's been on duty for years and simply doesn't know how to stand down.
And believe it or not, this experience has a name: rest resistance. It's not a flaw in your character, it's a protective mechanism that's gone on autopilot. The moment your body starts to truly relax, the nervous system can slam on the panic button, trying to pull you back to the familiar, and what it thinks of as the safe state of high alert. So how does this actually show up? Well, does any of this ring a bell? Maybe you find yourself automatically scanning for threats, even when you know you're in a perfectly safe place. Or that moment when you start to relax, you get a sudden jolt of anxiety. Or maybe you just feel this deep, nagging guilt anytime you even try to rest. These are all classic signs of a protective system that hasn't quite learned that the danger is over.
Okay, so we've moved through the thought, the spiral, and the resistance. So what's on the other side? What does life actually feel like? Let's talk about that. Not some magical finish line, but a realistic and really hopeful new normal. And the first thing to get is that healed doesn't mean the past is erased. True integration isn't about getting back to some old version of yourself or becoming this perfect, scar-free person. It's about fundamentally changing your relationship to your past so you can live more fully in your present. This quote, wow, it is just so honest and real. Triggers might still pop up. Old wounds might still ache from time to time. But here's the difference. They no longer hijack your entire system. Their emotional charge is dialed way down, and they just lose their grip on you. And that right there gives us a totally new and frankly a much kinder way to measure our own growth. The goal isn't a life with zero struggle. No, the real sign of progress is how quickly you bounce back. That resilience, that speed of recovery, that is the true benchmark of healing. And this, I think, is the most beautiful part of this whole journey. Healing isn't some restoration project to get you back to who you used to be. It's a process of becoming. It's about reclaiming all the parts of you that had to go into hiding to survive, and finally integrating them into the whole authentic person you were always meant to be. So I want to leave you with a final thought, a question to take with you. What if we just let go of this idea of a finish line? What if we traded the pressure of asking, am I healed yet, for the gentle compassion of asking, how am I relating to my experience today? That simple shift, it opens up so much space for curiosity, for flexibility, and for real self-respect on this wild, incredible, nonlinear journey.